Axis and Allies. I don't know. It seems like there should be some big music here. I don't know. Anyway, hey y'all, Wardrobe here. I got to play the Ultimate World War II game, right? Well, so a friend of mine owns the anniversary edition that came out a few years ago that now is impossible to find. Though, that said, I will tell you that I just got an email that it's live now. You can buy it now. It is reprinted. This humongous boxed edition here. So that box is humongous. So you can usually buy this game, like there's my humongous hands. Anyway, it's the biggest game box I have on my shelf right now. But that said, this is a friend loaned this to me because it's really like you can't find this game. Well, now they have it. They're reprinting it, and you can buy it now for $130 from Renegade Games, and maybe Miniature Market and others will be stocking it. And then you can also buy a neoprene map that's slightly bigger than this. So I asked my friend if I could borrow it because I've been kind of looking for that, World War II grand strategy game, kind of just to play it out. And I understand, kind of understood what Axis and Allies is, right? It's a dice. It's not really a dice fest either. You don't really throw that many dice, really. But it's pretty simple, right? There's not, no differentiating between equipment. And it's just kind of a big game. And I think it's always been known for it takes a long time to play and, that kind of stuff. And it could go on a while and go back and forth. But so I wanted to try it out because I'm not really sure I've ever played Axis and Allies. I think I played elements of it. But then they have all these different versions for World War II, World War I now, G.I. Joe now, which is kind of cool. But anyway, real quick. So they are selling it again. They sell this neoprene map. I think the neoprene map needs to be even bigger than what it appears it is because that's one of my cons for this particular game, even though it's huge. So let me just go through. So a friend loaned it to me. Really, I'm glad he did. And I set it up, and there's two scenarios in this. Basically, there's a spring of 41 scenario and a 42 setup. And you can kind of see, basically, it's taken place after Barbarossa, after like the big expansion of the Japanese, because they have a lot more points starting out. So it's kind of a nice little goal. Like, okay, did I get up? Did I get up to that level? That sort of thing. And these are their industrial production credits, dollars, whatever. So let me just go over. Oh wait, I'm all over the place here. So I started playing it. I got it set up, and I thought I might play through to the victory conditions, which are a number of cities owned, like major cities owned. And the Axis start out without very many, and it's not a huge hurdle for them to get there. There's like 2 or 3 different levels you can play, like 13. The Axis own 13, 18, or whatever the number is. Like own all of them. Knew I wasn't going to do that. But after I got it going, after I did the German turn and the Russian turn, I was like, I think I will be good playing one turn. So I really just wanted to see what is the thing? What is the deal with Axis and Allies? Is it why do people like it? Because I had impressions of it. And I got to say, I'll just sum it up right now. It's pretty cool. I had a really fun time playing, and I can see why this would be fun. In this case, getting 6, maybe 5 guys, because Italy would be tough to play by itself. There's just not a whole lot they're going to do. So maybe German and Italy together, because, they kind of need to support what Germany's doing anyway. So maybe 5 players. But I just want to get a feel for it, and I did get a feel for it, and I understand why people do it the way they do it. There's a guy here who puts on a tournament in St. Louis, the Chaplain. He's got YouTube videos out. There's 2 or 3 channels where they play a lot of Axis and Allies, and there's all these variants out there. But I'll tell you what, it's pretty cool. And the cool things that really stood out to me, and so I made notes even because I already I'm all over the place. So let me just kind of go through the pros and cons of what I liked about. I can see why people like it because you get to play through World War II without a ton of overhead. I can see maybe there being different strategies to it. So where is my list here? So I'm just going to do these out of order the way I thought of them when I was writing them down. I like the sequence of play. It's pretty cool. So research and development. So that's where you basically just pay for some credits and you roll. And if you get a 6 on that credit, then you roll on another table and you get like paratroopers or rockets or something. And then that just changes things you can do throughout the game. You don't have to do it. And if you fail that 6 roll, you keep the credit and keep rolling against it. So it's kind of cool. They do some, the guy did a great, Larry, I think, did a great job of just summing up what, that's kind of research. You start it. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes you get a breakthrough. So you might get it. And then you might, if you buy 1 credit a turn, well, then you might end up having 5 or 6. You're going to start hitting 6s and stuff. I think that's a pretty neat way of doing it. Then, so you're doing your research. So you kind of commit some of your money that you get, your credits, to that. And then you have money left over to purchase units. And then there's a little price chart, shows you how much everything costs the same for every nation. Everything does the same movement. All the stats are cool. That's kind of a nice thing. So for every nation, all that stuff is the same for the most part. So after you purchase units, and then what you do is you put the purchase units over on this little table over here on the side, and they wait. And so you don't get to use them until the end. So it's kind of a nice little thing. Like, okay, now you know what you bought. And you have to, you can think about that, what you bought. Like I said, there's a lot of things to think about. Like Russia has 3 industrial zones. So they can leave a spot open, like one of their industrial zones open, because they can put people there that are manufactured or whatever. That sounds weird, but anyway, there's just the sequence of play, there's just some neat things to think 2 or 3 moves ahead. Then you do your combat moves, and combat moves, you're going to move everything that you can combat with. Then you do the combat, and there's a variety. There's sea, air. You can do strategic bombing. That's a pro of mine. So you can send a bomber to go bomb factories. I bombed the Leningrad factory, and you add damage to it. And then, so like this has a 4, so that means this factory can produce 4 units a turn. If I put 2 hits on it, now it can only do 2. If like this Leningrad, it does 2. I put 4 hits on it, so it couldn't do anything. So the Soviets had to spend 1 credit or whatever it was to repair it. So you're just taking resources away. It's just a neat, like if that really happened, you have to rebuild the city. Pretty cool. Non-combat moves, so after you've done all the combat, then everyone else can kind of move into kind of reserve and back up and do things. And then mobilize new units. So those units that you bought, then you put them on the factory hexes. And then you collect your income. So whatever, of these zones that have points, then you collect your income for the turn. So it's a neat sequence of play, well thought out about the order that things happen, kind of the importance of them, and how long things take to happen. So they happen before and after others. Pretty cool. The research I've already talked about. That was a neat thing. Everything combats the same for the most part. Infantry defends it too. You got this nice battle chart that shows you that. And you can put everything on this battle. I'm not going to zoom in on it, but you put everything on that battle chart there, and you do your battle. And it's simultaneous unless they're submarines. So the units themselves have some special rules. Like submarines can do like sneak attacks, or they can submerge and leave. Only destroyers can do things to submarines for the most part. They stop subs from moving around. Aircraft carriers, you got that with airplanes on them. Pretty cool. I like the way the manufacturers abstracted with the points, buying them, and then moving them in there. And so you want to get factories. I think you can build factories too, right? Can you build factories? Yeah, you can. 15 points. That's a lot. But the battleship is 20. The plant is 15. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even think about that. So yeah. Okay, that's another thing. Planning out and budgeting for bigger things, like to build a battleship, that kind of thing. Now, the cool thing is everything just takes a turn to build. Not even it just takes a turn. So like you can buy that, you'll buy that battleship, and then it's going to be in your inventory to use the next turn. Pretty cool. Again, good sequence of play. The manufacturing is abstracted in a really cool way. Let's see, bigger, more combat. So it's getting pretty crowded in here, and this is the big map. And they give you these chips, which is kind of cool, little poker chips that you can put under your guys. So that guy right there is 2. That's 2 guys, 2 infantry. Because you run out of, some of them, I ran out of guys setting up. So you could easily buy another one, I'm sure you can get these 3D printed, use any kind of miniature you want. But some of these, like this really needs to be bigger, I think, some of these things, and shrink. Like, do I need Urals to be that big? No, I don't. So I just wonder about that. But it's a classic design. I don't care. But I'm just saying it looks like there's some things. It would mess up the map a little bit. It's already kind of weird. But I'll tell you the thing that really was cool. So as a kid, watching shows about World War II or any wars, kind of like this map up here. Let me show up here. And I do it on some of my games. It's like this Stalingrad map, where you see where the troops are and what they control. That oh boy, that line there. That's always kind of cool. And you see it when there's like they're showing a big map, like the Germans made this progress in 1941. Well, you kind of get that thing because when you take over a space that was not yours, you put your marker down. So you get these big markers, because otherwise it's these little flags here. Like that's the Chinese flag at the time, or their kind of thing. But then it looks like, oh, okay, you start to see what land you're taking, which is pretty cool. So the Germans, Japanese take a lot this turn. I mean, that's just kind of the thing. It's 41, they're still growing. So it's kind of, and so the Japanese actually took, oh no, yeah. So you just start to see their territory grow and look like they took a lot. So it's just kind of fun to see the changing land situation. And it just kind of gives you that feel like, yeah, this is a big view of World War II. So that's pretty cool. Bombing manufacturing plants I talked about. Units have special abilities. Biggest con, not a big enough map, which is insane because this is a bigger map. Because you can buy Springer 41. It's like half the size of that box. And I'm like, how do they even do that? I don't even know how you do that. I don't know how big that map is. You're probably about the size of two of these things. This is 3 panels. But it's a nice hard map. The neoprene map would be cool. The neoprene map of this buys $50 or whatever it is, or 90 or 70 or whatever it is a little bigger. It's not a whole lot bigger. Like in that production chart, so this is the production points and stuff, and you just track it on there. As you take and lose territory, you subtract and do all that stuff. But that's actually incorporated on the map as one long line, so that's kind of cool. And there's some really cool maps that the home brewers have made. I think the last thing I'll talk about on this, well, some components are cool. The little minis are fun. I can see why people would kind of, I don't know if I like using this word, but pimp out the game. There's a lot of things you could really do to make it quite cool, make it your own. These are cool. These thick cardboard things. So it's got the setups on one side. And then that's another thing I kind of wish it was flipped, but you're not going to go back. Once you do the setup, you're done. But it's cool because they've each got different goals. So the Germans, the 3 Axis powers have slightly different goals where you get extra credits. So Japan, Italy, and Germany have slightly different goals because they weren't all really together, Soviet Union has like maybe a similar goal to the other 2 allies, but then they have their own things. But the British and US are pretty much on target. They have the same goals, which kind of is a nice abstraction of that they were a little bit more in tune than, the Soviets did have a lot of their own agendas. I mean, everyone did, but a little different than what the US and British were going for. And that's cool. They abstracted World War II superbly. You have to think ahead. There's a lot of decision points, and that's what people, if you like a little bit challenging games, like, what am I going to spend my money on? Do I do a battle now? Do I wait to do a battle? Are they going to put troops in that area? Is now a good time to attack? So, like, I had the Italians tack into Egypt thinking, well, maybe I got all these ships, we pound them. The Italians got pounded. So they had to move back into Libya and retreat, which you can do after 1 round. You can say, I'm done. The British did the same thing. They're like, we can take Burma. They were only holding it with 2 guys. They went in there with a bunch of stuff. They got obliterated. So they said, all right, lick their wounds and go back to India. I really thought they'd take that. But then what's interesting, and so like Germany made it here. I kind of wish they can't. They couldn't have made it much further than that, honestly. So my next goal would have been to go into Leningrad. You take that, you take a factory, you take a city, which would be big. You want to take cities, and because that's the victory points. So then you have these little victory point hexes little counters that you take, and they needed whatever the number was, 13, I'll say. They started out with 5 or something, and they took one city and all that. No, they might have taken 3. Hong Kong. Anyway, so there's some thinking to do. Like, what do I want to build? When do I need that? I mean, like, just looking at the U.S. and Britain, like, what the heck are they going to do? So I really started focusing, like, on the U.S. Anyway, so very cool. I can see why people like it. So as a solo effort, I've got other games I want to play. This will take a while to play this. I mean, because you really have to think through a few turns ahead. What's going to happen here? And really, there's a lot of things. I mean, maybe there's not as much thing as I know because I'm new to it. And maybe the strategies are just obvious. I don't see that stuff right away. If I were to do this solo, I would probably do a lot of reading online about the best strategies for each of the sides. And I'm hoping there's not just one strategy for each side. Oh, so for Japan to win, you got to do this. That's it, period. It would be cool if there's like 2 or 3 or more. Because I think what would be fun is do all that research, kind of come up with the gambits, the strategies, put them down on a list. And if I was going to solo, then kind of maybe roll for it. Like, okay, Japan's going to go the attack only the U.S. route, or I don't know what, try to take over the U.S. or take over Russia or take over the whole sphere here and kind of stick with that. Although they have some goals on their thing that you want to hit too. The U.S. is going to go Pacific first, Europe first, divide and conquer, that sort of thing. It would just be kind of cool, like, spend a ton of money on research, spend it all on battleships. And I think that's what's cool, if it makes a difference. Now, it would be interesting if I started reading, they're like, yeah, no, that would be stupid to buy all airplanes or whatever the thing might be. So like the Soviet Union rolled on their breakthrough, and they got paratroopers. And that means you have a bomber that can take 2 infantry somewhere and drop them, or 1 or whatever. Well, Russia doesn't have any bombers. And so I'm like, paratroopers doesn't really work for them. Though, I got to tell you, it would be really fun. Because I'm assuming you can take a paratroopers and land in a territory that you're not adjacent to and attack in there. And that's pretty cool. So they do some really neat things. So, or maybe you don't spend any money on research. But I bet at some point you start to find like, oh crap, I should have spent some money on research. Sorry about the mic there. So that would be the way I'd do it solo. And I'd really want to commit to the time. Because this is going to be on the table for a while and it takes up a lot of table space, right? I mean, this is a 6x4 table this is on. And it's, taking up a little bit more than 3 feet. I'm like almost 4 feet. Yeah, it's almost 4 feet. And then this way, and then, the whole table this way just to have all the boxes and accessories. Because you have to have that stuff out all the time because you're constantly moving stuff in and out of that. New equipment and stuff. Okay, so my thing, and they also sell like campaign games like Guadalcanal, D-Day, Bulge. I mean, some of those aren't available right now. Desert's coming out. And they play very similarly, obviously smaller scale. Those are tempting. Like, it might have been fun to play the D-Day one during D-Day. Just to, it's a very quick game. I don't think there's a lot of choices, so that may not be as fun. That would be my only concern with that. There's not very as many choices. I don't know. I would play it with a bunch of people. This is a game I would probably prefer to play with a bunch of people, just though I could focus on what I want to do as the U.S. or Japan or Germany or Russia or whatever. Because trying to think of it just on this fly, if I just do it without a plan, they're all going to be pretty much the same. Because like my strategy thinking is going to be, I'm going to forget, like, what am I doing for the U.S.? Oh yeah, you know what I mean? I'd need to do some writing down and kind of thinking through things. Because it'd be real easy just to do some things, and it's like, that's not good long term. Like, you should probably build up a few forces. Like, so I sent a few things from the U.S. to start heading towards Britain. But really, I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to focus on this West Coast. Like, I was thinking about putting some bombers into Germany, or I'm sorry, into Japan, kind of like they did, like the Doolittle raid. But bomb that factory. And if I start limiting what Japan can build out, that's going to hurt them like crazy. And they don't have any options for more factories on this side. They can't, over here, they go to the Western U.S., but good Lord. That's going to be tough. Like invading Australia and the U.S., it's tough. And again, they abstracted that really well. Like, yeah, that would be really tough to go invade the Western U.S. with enough troops to do it. Like to get enough transport, and enough troops all together and all at the same time with the support ships. And what's the U.S. doing in the meantime? Like the U.S. took the Caroline Islands after the Japan had done this massive, like they'd really taken a lot of stuff over here and like, oh boy, they took the Philippines, Wake Island, New Guinea, but then they snuck in here because they left it kind of shallow and the U.S. took it. So now they've got that. But now the U.S. is kind of like, what, you can't do anything with this. There's not a whole lot. I'm not in a really great position to just start attacking. Boy, I have gone on way longer than I thought. If you want a fun, abstracted game of World War II, Axis and Allies is a great choice. Now, there's been a bunch made since Axis and Allies has come out. I tried Blitz. That didn't really sink into me. It was a lot. I don't know. It was just too much for what I wanted. Eurofront would be kind of cool. I know a lot of the guys and some guild I belong to, they love it. I can see why that'd be fun. That's just Eurofront though, so it's not Pacific, but maybe you don't need that. I did just invest in Axis Empires Ultimate Edition. Now making me a little nervous because if this is, I'm like, oh, that's too much. That's going to be too much because that's way deeper. A lot more thinking. That might be an online play there. I can play some of the smaller scenarios though. Sometimes you're just looking to play. Now there's World War II in 1 hour or something. That's going to be too abstract, I think, for me. But anyway, there's the World War or World at War or something, that big round one that was designed by the same guy that did Axis and Allies. Humongous, really hard to get hold of, super expensive. But I hear it's more complicated. And I'm like, I don't know if I want more complicated. Now, Axis Empires is different. But I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is good. I was tempted to buy the new edition. It's the same. I think it's pretty much the same game. So, but I'm like, I don't know, man. I just don't think I would play it that often. So maybe I just keep borrowing my friends. Seems kind of rude. I'll give them some money. All right, that's it. Let me know what you think of Axis and Allies. Comment below and do all that business and ring that bell and blah, blah, blah. Now on to the next game. Next game. So thanks all, and we'll talk to you later. See ya.